Hey, welcome back. It is September the 11th, 2023. So, to step back and do things a little bit different today, I just wanted to address what the day means for so many, and then we'll catch up next week. But on the way to school today, I've got a 11-year-old daughter, and I was talking to her about, some of the things that she may have heard, because this would have happened, a little bit before she was born. And she knew some things about it. My son is also, 9/11 took place before he was born also. But for us that have been around for a minute, I can still remember I was here at work. This was before the new courthouse now, which we call it the new courthouse, but it's 20 years old this year. But we were over at the Sanders building, that pink building across from the old courthouse. And my secretary at the time was Carol Villar. She is she's originally from the burbs around New York, and I was in my office getting ready for court. We had court that day, and Carol said, "Come in here, you need to see this." And she was sort of explaining to me what was going on. I guess it would have been maybe at 8:30, real early in the morning. And my first thoughts were, well, that's sort of a banner plane that must have run into the side of the building. Somebody got lost, or it was an accident. But the first little bit was, never did it even cross my mind that we were under attack. And I was watching by the time the second plane hit, and obviously at that point it starts kind of coming together. Not long after that, I think even at least by the time the building had fell, one of the buildings had fallen, then Solicitor Greg Hembry, now Senator Greg Hembry, called us all in. We left court, came back over, and talked for a few minutes. And then he called back and said, "Look, we're just going to call off court the rest of the day," and sent everybody home. It wasn't long after that the schools released, and of course I didn't have any kids at the time, but it was a really wise move. There was very little that was going to get done. And I still remember the days after 9/11. One of the oddest things was to look up in the sky and not see the tails from the jets that were flying. Of course, for several weeks there was no air traffic. So it was a really scary time, but I would be remiss if we didn't go back for just a second, and you're going to see all sort of coverage about it today, but to think about it from the eyes of the ones that are first responders, New York City Port Authority, the police, the fire. Whole battalions were wiped out that day as they went in simply to do their job. And I still remember the look on one of the firemen's face, that surreal. It wasn't courage, it wasn't anything but almost this idea that really bad things were coming about, and he had a job to do. And I've often wondered if that particular one that was caught on footage made it out. I'm sure he probably didn't. But the number of people that they were able to rescue, when you would look back at those buildings and know that it was, 8:30 in the morning, people coming to work, I remember thinking there's going to be tens of thousands of people in that building, and we lost a lot. We lost an awful lot. But from the two buildings, and from the Pentagon, and from the plane crashing in Pennsylvania, I think the total was somewhere around 3,000. So many people doing their jobs got a bulk of the people out. Obviously the people that were on the top floors couldn't get out. But today, if you think back about just how fortunate we are, there's not a one of us that don't get aggravated when we get a speeding ticket or have an interaction with law enforcement. But these guys, and I often think about it, when your burglar alarm goes off, they're the ones that are going through your house, trying to make sure that it's safe for you to go in. They put themselves at risk every day, not to the extent that everybody did on 9/11, 2001, but every day they put their lives on the line. They are there, and we just need to be thankful for them, and we need to remember them. And even sometimes when we're frustrated, maybe at ourselves for speeding or not wearing a seatbelt or whatever interaction it is, these guys not only are paid to do a job, that's selling it short, but they are really and truly putting their lives on the line, and they're not perfect. But when everybody else was running away from those buildings, think back to who was running to them. And that was police, fire, Port Authority, trying to help people to protect and serve. So, we as a society, and especially law enforcement, there's always ways to get better. But overall, don't be tricked into believing that they're the enemies. They are the very antecedent of that. They are the ones that come to help you. And a lot of times pay a huge price to do that. So as we go throughout the day, it means so many different things to so many people. But what it should mean is for us to step back, think for just a second, the tremendous sacrifice that those guys make every day, and certainly made on September the 11th, 2001.